Gary Vaynerchuk is a serial entrepreneur, investor, and one of the most sought-after public speakers alive today, and a 4 times New York Times best-selling author. He went from being born in the Soviet Union, living in a studio apartment with 8 other family members, to building a net worth of $160 million. Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 for my top 10, top 10, 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Gary Vaynerchuk, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1, be realistic.
Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people do, but very few people actually pull the trigger, and even fewer succeed. What are the barriers there?
Talent.
But that's disheartening. That means you're just like, you're born, you can either play in the NBA or you can't.
No, that's a very good point. I think it's the following. My brother AJ is a better basketball player than me because he's put in more work on his left hand and his jumper, so he deserves it. He's not in the NBA. You can be an entrepreneur. The problem is we've lost sight of being an entrepreneur who makes $137,000 a year doing what she or he loves is an amazing life. But right now everybody thinks they're gonna be Mark Zuckerberg. So we've become audacious and ludicrous and delusional in our entrepreneurial ambitions. And so I think we need a level of self-awareness. I think people are trying to be entrepreneurs at a level we've never seen before because the cost of entry of saying that you're an entrepreneur in your Instagram account is very easy. Right. It's also cool right now. I'm actually quite scared about that because I don't want to be the face of that because I think 95% of people are going to fail, especially when the economy fails. Let me say something straight to camera. If you're not a successful entrepreneur right now, in the easiest time to be a successful entrepreneur because there's so much money in the system and the internet is at scale, you suck.
All right, that's some tough love right there.
It's the truth. This is the easiest time in the history of life to be a successful entrepreneur, and if you're not, and you're struggling, then you're not an entrepreneur. Listen, I'd love to be playing for the Jets and the Knicks or be opening the Grammys. It's fun, sounds rad. I'm just not capable. Doesn't mean I can't sing better. Doesn't mean I can't be a better football player backyard in Central Park. You gotta put in the work and you have to be self-aware of your upside. The other thing is we have too many students who now think that entrepreneurship is cool. If you weren't selling lemonade and baseball cards or pogs or burning CDs and flipping them in school, like if you don't have sales DNA or operational DNA or it wasn't fun to play store when you were 5, you didn't gravitate towards it naturally. You're gravitating towards it now because it's cool.
Right, and I take it you did all those things.
All those things.
Right.
And so did so many of the people that are successful as entrepreneurs.
Right, yep, yeah.
The same as singers went to choir. The same as actors signed up for the thespian club freshman year. Right. Like it matters, the work matters, the talent matters.
Rule number 2, be an enigma.
What's your definition of greatness?
I've never really thought of that. It's funny, a couple things ran through I'll just go with what ran through my head. First thing that came to mind is that a lot of people know who you are because you've impacted them in a positive way. The second thing that came through my mind was interesting was when you say somebody's name, you feel something. Like, like when you get nervous, like some version of like excitement and butterflies. I think it's, I'm fascinated by the word great because I think it's one of those words that has absolutely been like, I think about sports casting. It's funny, everybody's nostalgic about their youth and you always become the old man or old woman. Like the way great gets thrown around, I'd love to get your perspective on this because you've anchored into this so heavily, but like, yeah, those are the 2 things that come to mind. Like that mix between nervousness and excitement in your stomach, or like to me, it's like when you hear a name, like it's funny, Martin Luther King's birthday was the other day, right? I went to Martin Luther King middle school. Like I don't think we can wrap our head around the people that have changed the world, because that's a level of selflessness. Like I'm pumped because I'm gonna be 50% selfless, and I think I'm gonna be legendary for it. There's people out there that are 100% selfless. I think for entrepreneurship, you have to be 50% of each. But it's wild to me that I am gonna be far more successful and great because of the DM that I'm gonna send to a kid tonight than for the 97 things I'm gonna be right about in business over the next century and will make me successful. Doing the right thing is always the right thing. There's something in that statement with greatness. I think to be great, you have to be an enigma. You have to be like against the status quo. You have to be willing to say work-life balance in its current state, like I did earlier in the, segment. So yeah, just different. Like, and invoking a reaction. A human reaction must occur, otherwise you're not great.
Rule number 3, love yourself more.
How do you account, how productive you have been as an entrepreneur a day? For example, I could write one article and I could be very productive. I could write three articles, but I'm not productive. So how do you actually account of, how much work I have done as an entrepreneur?
It sounds like you're doing what we all do, which is it sounds like you're being your own judge and jury.
Right.
So I think you just need to love yourself more.
Right.
I'm being serious. It's a very interesting insight. Like when you were asking the question, I think every day I'm phenomenal. I'm being dead serious because I'm trying as hard as I can. I have very good intent. I'm really trying. And if today was a less productive day because I was tired or a meeting didn't go well or who knows why, I'm just not capable of beating myself up today. I look at it over the course of time. I mean, you get to be the judge and the jury.
Rule number 4, outwork your competition.
What I was definitely, when I transitioned from wine to, let's say, entrepreneurship in my content, it was 2007, 8, 9, and we were going through a global economic crisis. And as you can imagine, as an immigrant who answered your question of what my regret is, I think it's very difficult to give advice that says, become more talented. Be born with more talent. Very not practical. So where I found myself was going to another place that felt very practical to me, and as you can imagine, it's all I ever saw for the first 35 years of my life, which was work ethic was a controllable part of the game, that if you did that, if you're outworking your competition, practicing after practice, all the things we know about sports and music and theater and acting and all those things, that was an incredible advantage. And in a time and place where people were getting laid off, and things of that nature, it hit the right tone. It was natural to me, and the timing was right.
Also, if you want to have more confidence, self-love, and motivation, check out my 254 series. They're free. The links to join are in the description below.
The reason people aren't patient is they value other people's opinions too much. There's plenty of things that I'm not good at. I love self-awareness. It's kept me so happy. Like, I'm not upset at myself that I'm selfish in certain areas. My ability to only be comfortable in massive chaos has been my biggest asset as an entrepreneur. Like, I would never take a note. Like, that scares the piss out of me what these 3 people are doing right now.
Rule number 5, have patience.
The lack of patience, bro. I mean, it's crazy to me that literally patience and insecurity is 90% of the unlock for everybody listening right now. Their mom shit on them their whole life and said they're gonna be a loser, so they believe it, because that's what parenting is. And they just wanna have a, Maserati now. Right. And they'll do whatever it takes to do it. And so they did something, like, how many kids are doing something smart, like doing a good retail arbitrage on Amazon right now and making $100,000 by buying on Alibaba and selling on Amazon. Took a year and a half, 3 years to get good at it. But now we're taking every profit and buying some rando cryptocurrency because they're playing the lotto. That's just, this is what's going on in our society. Like, we have to have these conversations.
They're seeing big gains fast, like, let me jump in.
Like, there's a kid who spent 3 years being disciplined and getting good at retail arbitrage. It's a real skill to have an eye for, like, what to buy in China, how to set up on Amazon properly, how to run ads. Like, it's a skill.
Yeah.
They did it for 3 years meticulously. They made 13,000, then 47,000. Now they finally are making 300,000, and they could be on their way to 10 million, yet they've chosen to kind of stop jump on the short-term bandwagon of buying some weird cryptocurrency, hoping it's the next Bitcoin or Ethereum. I'm just seeing that every day, and I'm just like, it's being predicated on short term.
Yeah.
You hear one story, Zucks did it. Instagram sold in 550 days for a bit now on. That's why everybody started an app company.
Yeah.
To follow the leadership, completely predicated on short term. I went the other way. While everybody was blowing up, I decided to build an agency. Boring ass, shitty ass business in the prime of my career when everything was going for me in Silicon Valley. I'm proud of that.
Rule number 6, taste more.
The holy grail of life professionally is to love what you're doing and be good at it. You know, there's a lot of people who love what they do and they're okay at it. There's a lot of people that crush at something but hate it, you know, and the only way you'll know that is if you taste more. I always smile when I'm on this kick because I think about oysters a lot. So like I'm really into them and like I've gotten pretty knowledgeable about them, like West Coast, East Coast, like that kind of shit. And it's just so funny how many people have decided they don't like oysters without ever having them. And that's how I think about careers. You think you're FinOps, but you're really strategy. You think you're strategy, but you're really account. You think you're project management, but you're really FinOps. And I think about that every day.
Rule number 7, provide upfront value.
When something is working, and clearly things are working for you right now, what I've noticed for a lot of people over the last decade is when something's working from a monetization standpoint, you start losing your balance of jabbing and right hooking. I think in a world where you're monetizing audience coming into things they pay for, that you have to find, and that's why you're doing this. And I think the more things like this, where you can provide upfront value with no clear path to transaction, finding that balance is a challenge for everybody.
Right.
And most of all, when it's going well. So I don't have a good read on how much free content,
Yeah,
free
we do
access.
about 80%. 80%.
So there you go. So there you go. So then I would say 82%.
Yeah.
Or 84%. because I mean that, Grant, because what I do know is that people have a much longer life cycle when they disproportionately bring value.
Right,
When
right.
you are guilting,
Yeah.
and that's the word, guilting
the public.
people into buying a $1,000 program or a $20 book because you've given them more value. You've given them $1,001 up front, you win.
Rule number 8, commit to producing volume.
You talked about the volume and to get up to 5,000 pieces a day.
Yes.
But you also talked about the importance of being relevant
Yes.
and having meaningful content. How do you ensure that you stay relevant to your followers
Yeah.
and to...
The question is, in an ambition of thousands of pieces of content a day, how do I also nail home relevance, which is a big part of it? So ironically, this volume framework inevitably creates relevance. What will happen, it's kind of like a workout plan. If I'm able to get my partners, friends, people I care about, clients, my own stuff, into a framework of volume, inevitably, let's just say somebody was in here and said, approved, and everyone's like, okay, now we do it. Inevitably, tomorrow's board meeting is, well, what are we gonna say? And what you realize is, and this is devastating, like one of the things that's been really fascinating, and we work with very large companies, is once you see it, you can't unsee it. And the level of visceral negative energy I have towards the modern day marketing world, watching some of my clients starting the process of going there, it's real fun for me because literally a week earlier, they're having this subjective, completely non-practical meeting. And then a month later, after the first month of this work, they can't even stay in the room for 10 minutes because it seems so silly. It's like many things in life. Once you see something, sometimes you can't unsee it. So the entire model is built on relevance. All of a sudden, you are making a piece of content to female CIOs in Russia. Because you're making 5,000 pieces of content. Like, you're not gonna make vanilla anymore. You're in the business of selling vanilla. You are. Everything is so over corporatized and everything's trying to reach everybody. Even when the seed of the idea was a good idea, by the time it sees the day of life, it's vanilla. When you've made the commitment to producing volume, everything is relevant because you start becoming educated on how deeply powerful these platforms are. And if I want to reach a CTO that went to MIT, and I want to use MIT colors in the creative because I know that makes her or him more likely to click it. I mean, this is real stuff now. All of a sudden, 5,000, you can't imagine how quickly, through a detailed conversation around this, 5,000 seems way too little. Everything, like just think about the two examples I gave you and how your mind's running with the fact that this is actually in perpetuity. Every school, every neighborhood, every geographic, every job title, every organization, like that's just the framework of 7 or 8 cohort beginnings that is an X and Y, which allows you to go forever. You could be making content that starts with, hey, are you 28 years old? And the person sees it as, yeah, I am. You know, like you can't imagine how infinite this actually plays out. And so, you know, it was fun to hear you ask the question because I was smiling inside. I'm like, it's once you make the commitment to that framework, the only thing you can do is relevance. And by the way, relevance is the only thing that sells, not potential reach, which is the currency of big companies. GRPs and impressions and the cost of those impressions, potential reach, not actual reach. It's being reported as you reach those people. You don't believe that. You don't believe that article reached 29 million people. Potential reach versus actualized relevant consumption. That is the delta.
Rule number 9, stay true to yourself.
I also think that when we start demonizing work ethic, we get into I think we are the byproduct of the last 10 years being so fruitful. You know, a lot of the people that push against me are venture-backed company founders who were able to raise $25 million over 4 years based on their idea by never running a profitable company. So everybody, and not that they're wrong, I just think everybody has different perspectives. So I think we need to get into a healthier, you know, minimalism. I'm sure, I don't know. I assume there's some sort of counter debate to it. And
there's a minimalism is dead, and it's just the whole thing. I mean, from the same perspective of hustle, it's like, well, it's not a cult. These are just some ideas.
I think it's important. Yeah. And I think, you know, for example, I think I both love work ethic and minimalism, and I think they're, you know, I already know that I'm a kind of enigma and have like some pretty contradictions within me. So I'm hoping that because of that, and that's just the luck of the draw of DNA, and given the platform that I've earned and have been afforded, maybe I can create some better conversations. Because I think it'd be a really good time for all of us in any sector about any debate, red versus white wine, let alone minimalism, anti-minimalism, hustle, it's a really good time to get back to a cordial state of debate. I also know it's contextual. Like, how can't you tell somebody who's not afforded any opportunities that work ethic isn't gonna help them? There's no thing you can pull up that speaks to me saying money is happiness. I wasn't raised in that environment, I know it's not true.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is put hard work on the pedestal.
How do people shift their mindset even in a horrible time for most people when they can't even do it during a great time?
Easy. My stuff does better during bad times.
Because they have to.
Right. You and I hung out during the Crush It book signing. That's when you drove me. Crush It hit a nerve because people needed it.
2009, right?
Right. And that's when hustle was good. And then hustle during good times becomes manipulated into burnout. But I promise you right now, I don't use hustle anymore because I understand how the word got mutated into leading to anxiety. And so I don't want that. So I changed it. Even in Crush It, I talk about 9 to 5, making $40,000 a year, being happy. But I promise you hard work is about to be put on a pedestal again.
Now I have a special bonus rule from Gary on how to not be controlled by others that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, where do you need to commit to producing more volume? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, you're still here watching Believe Nation. We don't just watch videos and get inspired, we take action. If that's you, give me a hashtag Believe down in the comments below and tell me where you're from as well, because I wanna celebrate you.
Over the last 18 to 24 months, as the world changes, as we get into entitlement era after 15 years of economic or 10 years of great global economic growth, much like my concern with entrepreneurship, because there's so much money in the system, everybody's idea gets funded, and we're not building businesses, we're just building companies to get more funding. What has also happened is a more human conversation, more Nordic and European centric than US and China centric, about work-life balance, about mental health issues, about burnout. I found myself 2 years ago watching contemporaries, even friends, start to use me as a poster child of bad, that I was pushing too much burnout and things of that nature, hustle porn and other things. And I was empathetic to it. As much as I was hurt and wanted to make 500 videos of, in the first book, which is my Bible, I talk about if you want to work 9 to 5 and make 40,000 a year, but you're happy, you've won. I think I've been, and I have been, incredibly consistent around happiness, not money, and many other things. But to your point, because of my personality traits, what was associated was hustle and things of that nature. So I had to take responsibility for that. And so over the last 24 months, I have spent more time and energy to contextualize everything, to make sure I'm covering the basis so that people know where I stand on this, which is what I said earlier. I don't actually regret it because I loved business is my hobby. But if one wants to go to every softball game or every track meet or, work 31 hours a week and they're fulfilled, that makes me happy. I don't get to judge. So yes, I think what's so great about communication and so great about advancements is you can create clarity, you can talk about different things. I talk a lot more about parenting today than I did in the past because, not even because I'm a parent, because I've been more in tune to how I was parented. So yes, I've definitely been more aggressive in making sure the things that I've always believed are more associated with me because I have no interest in other people painting a picture about me that isn't true. But it all goes to one big game of self-awareness. You can get burned out working 30 hours a week because you're unhappy, because you're trying to be too work life, but what actually you are is an alpha go-getter and you do want to grind. Not living your actual life is the problem. Letting other people's opinions dictate your behavior is the problem. Self-confidence. Most parents create insecurity. Evan, thank you so much for having a couple seconds and being able to tell the Believe Nation a little bit about Empathy Wines. It means a lot to me that you would take this valuable real estate and time on your channel to give me some love. It means a lot. It's just good karma points, and so you're awesome. Thank you. Believe Nation, if you're into wine at all, go to empathywines.com. My whole career's work was poured into producing a wine that rivaled $40 to $60 wine for 20 bucks a bottle. I'm just super excited about this subscription-based wine business. You can order 3, 6, or 12 bottles in subscription form, rosé, white, red. If you search on Instagram or Twitter, you will be blown away. People are literally like, I don't even like Gary Vee, but the wine's good. Super proud of the effort. Thanks, Evan, for the time. Wishing you guys all happy and healthy.
If you want to learn how to market on social media like Gary Vee, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.